What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my favorite, the greatest, the best looking, the smartest, the funniest co-host of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. And as we get deeper into the NFL offseason, I got Matt smiling over here. As we get deeper into the NFL offseason, we thought we'd go over some historical stuff, taking a look at the worst losses in NFL history. Some of you guys are going to want to click off of this video. I get it. It's going to be a bit traumatic. It was a bit traumatic for me. I've got a couple as a Browns fan that appear on this list. Matt, I imagine you've got a couple as a Panthers fan. And Theo, I imagine you've got a couple as a Packers fan. So what I've tried to do is limit myself to one team, or one per team.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Let me go look. I think, because I just did my general top 10, I think there's a couple of teams that have a real case. Worst losses of all time, they've got multiple, even if we're just looking at 10.
Absolutely.
I am incredibly curious because I know what mine is. I know what Theo's is. Blaiden, in your lifetime, there's a Browns loss that cracks the worst losses ever list?
In my lifetime, no.
Okay.
But there are definitely some Browns losses. I mean, look,
Certainly.
I could make a list of top 5, top 10 worst Browns losses, and there would be some from my lifetime, sure. But if we're doing all time, all 32 teams, the ones in my lifetime, they are the Browns versus Chiefs playoff game, which is a tough loss for sure, especially with Mahomes going down. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's
not a historically bad loss.
Not a historic loss. It's not memorable for anything other than like Higgins did kind of get a rough deal at the end there. But even so, like they're probably not winning the Super Bowl or anything. And then
definitely not.
And then the other one would have been
at that level too.
The other one in my lifetime would have been the loss to Pittsburgh to go 0-16. Those are the two that come to mind for me.
Because they kind of lost that one in horrific fashion with the Corey Coleman drop, I remember. Yeah, I can see the vision on that. I can see the vision.
But neither of those cracked my list. All like they were in my initial list, but at the end of the list here, they're not on there.
So before we actually get into the losses themselves and what you guys picked, and I don't know, did you guys do top 10 list or did you just pick some that you wanted to highlight in general? I think that's the way you were looking at it, Theo.
Yeah, I've got some that I want to highlight. I mean, this is really, really hard. And
there's like a lot of not great losses. There's a handful that really stick out as like, oh my God. But then after that, like it's pretty.
I mean, in 2021 alone, the Super Bowl was a 3-point loss. The NFC and AFC championship games were 3-point losses. And then both 1 seeds lost in the divisional round, 3-point losses. Those are all horrifically scarring, traumatizing. Oh, we had greatness and it slipped through our fingers losses in 1 year.
Right.
So I only went back and looked at years that I can remember. So 2010 on, because I just thought when I thought about 2021, I'm like, I don't have time to look at the scope of NFL history and figure out every single loss. Cause that's like I said, that's 5 horrific losses in 1 season.
Sure.
So I kind of narrowed my scope a little bit and I needed some assistance of like what I actually remember. Like, I can picture this. I know how bad it was. I know what the reaction was to this. And I needed that assistance because if we're going back to, I mean, the beginning of the Super Bowl era, like there's just going to be too many bad losses for me to even wrap my head around. So I just did ones that I remember, but certainly I could have expanded it and looked at some like egregiously bad losses. Like I think about the Bills dynasty that never was, the 4 straight L's and Gary Anderson and the Vikings. Those might come up later. Like there are a few losses that stick out off the top of my head from those old days, but just for the sake of time and the sake of looking at everything, I looked at Super Bowls, NFC and AFC championship games, and anytime a 1 seed lost early, I looked at that too since 2010. And I just couldn't do that for all of NFL history.
Sure.
Yeah, I like that.
What your philosophies were for what constitutes a bad loss. Because I started thinking about like blowouts. Do blowouts count in the same way that like a close
No,
last?
No, they don't at all.
I agree. Can I phrase this a certain way?
Sure.
If you're designing a loss for the Steelers or Michigan or the Vikings, for me, you're designing your dream loss for your op. What does the loss look like if you're trying to inflict maximum pain?
Oh, if you're trying to inflict maximum pain, because I'm thinking like, how would I want the Browns to beat the Steelers? And it's like, I would want them to blow them out.
Sure.
That's
which
different.
is different. That's different.
Like a hate watch. You're designing your dream hate watch. Are they favored going into the game? Are they winning at the very end and get it ripped out of there? Is it a bad call? Is it a last second touchdown? I get like what is the best thing about watching someone lose? Or what?
Well, I think that's a little bit different from what the actual worst loss is, and I think that actually really pertains to the Saints in particular.
Yeah.
Minnesota Miracle, in my opinion, much more fun to watch as a Panthers fan, but the Rams loss was worse if you're a Saints fan, and not even a question. Losing because the refs gave you a bad call in that moment, and it's such a bad call. That's definitely more frustrating than just.
Might have a debate on this one then.
Okay, well we'll get to that, but I want to talk about my criteria for just a second.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay, strength of win does not matter whatsoever. If it's an amazing win, great. It does not play into how bad of a loss that it was. I think this is about devastating losses in particular, so it needs to be high stakes in the playoffs. There's only a handful of games outside of, frankly, the conference championships and the Super Bowl that are really going to rank like among the all-time worst disasters. For non-Super Bowl games in particular, how big of a contender you were really matters. So if you were like the team last year, and you kind of hinted at this, Theo, and you lose, that's a lot different than the Browns versus the Chiefs, where, if you're in the AFC Championship game, you're in the AFC Championship game on some level.
Sure.
But there's teams that can make it that far and then really not be that close to winning a title.
And for the Browns,
and they still have to go through
a game too. It wasn't even the AFC Championship. It was
right. So they would have been going to the AFC Championship game. And I just think there should be a level of like, there's no way we blew that game. I think I value that pretty heavily too. So getting yourself into a scenario where you figure the thing is wrapped up and then all of a sudden it's not is really big. And then for me, I mean, you guys know how I feel about this stuff. How much it hurts looking back on it and what the team did around that season matters a ton. So if your team then came back the next year and won the Super Bowl, it's just not going to be on the same level of we lost this game and then we missed the playoffs for a decade or something like that, right? Like I think 98 Vikings, right? I don't think they won another playoff game up until 2009, actually. So
wow.
I think and then that went some
How did
other
that go?
Interesting.
Did someone ponder passing? Maybe did someone think about maybe throwing the football? Maybe
it's possible, and that's such a killer game to go back and watch. That's probably the single dumbest interception of all time. We've talked about this recently. I feel like that's the worst play ever. Oh my God, it's not actually, but it's
pretty bad.
Damn, it's pretty bad, dude. It's a pretty bad interception.
I watched an all-time meatball in preparation for this episode that I didn't know happened, but it's almost on that same level as Favre, and it's a similar caliber quarterback, probably a better quarterback. So stay tuned to figure out who threw one of the league's most underrated meatballs ever.
So, I mean, let's just get into it because we've said we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this.
Yeah.
So
where do you guys?
I built a top 5 and I have an honorable mention is kind of the way that I had mine. Because Theo was saying like 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
Matt, you said you have a full top 10. So I kind of want to hear.
I have a full top 10.
I kind of want to hear your 10 through 6.
my 10 through 6. We should start at the top. We should get the obvious.
Yeah, maybe
one
start
out
at the
of way.
top. Yeah,
and work down. Okay, yeah, I guess we do that for our position
28 to 3
ranking.
is the worst loss of all time, and it's not even particularly close. The Falcons were never really that great again with that team. They had an incredibly good squad. They were historically good offense. They had an unbelievable lead, and they blew it not only to they blew not only a game that they had a 25-point lead in with 17 minutes to go, or they had like a 16-point lead with 9 minutes to go, and it was 1st and 10, and they had the ball, right? Because the 17 minutes left, like the screenshot that you'll see, that's like the play before the Patriots in their first drive to score and begin the comeback. So it's like a little misleading, if you know what I'm saying. But the Falcons had that thing totally wrapped up. They also had a situation where they were in field goal range and then took a sack and a penalty back to back and were forced to punt on that one. And then not only did they blow that game, but they blew it to the Patriots and Tom Brady, meaning that if it already wasn't going to be one of the most talked about games ever, it will constantly be brought back up in legacy debate and just with the Patriots being the dynasty.
I think losing
that they
to
were.
a dynasty is something that I did take into some account a little bit. The Patriots, the Chiefs currently, the Steelers in like the 70s. But I think those teams, because there's some losses that those teams have that you look back on and you're like, those are kind of bad losses, but they're made less bad by the fact that like the Patriots have 6 Super Bowls. Like, sorry, I don't care. I don't care that you lost to the Giants. Really.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. 2007 is its own debate because there's extra weight that came with having a chance at the undefeated season and how bad the Giants were. Not how bad the Giants were, but like how big of an underdog they were is what I mean to say. But in terms of like the Super Bowl against the Eagles in 27, no, that's not that bad of a loss. It was a close game that they lost in kind of brutal fashion, but sorry, it's not cracking the top 10 because you won 3 Super Bowls around that era too.
Yeah.
Like what you were in you came back and got it back the next season and you already had 2 before with a guy you already had 5 with. That's a little bit different. I got to see more, even though it was against Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Losing to a
throw out like another hot. This one will be a hot take. Malcolm Butler's not on my list because
that is
the
wild.
Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl the year before.
No way. That one's really bad.
It's
that one's
bad,
really bad,
but like
that's weighting that too much because they were never the same after that, and that legitimately fractured the locker room too, where the defense like lost their chill with Russell Wilson like after that play, and then they never were back. Like, yes, they got a ring the year before, and I'm with you that if you're a dynasty and you lose and you don't win literally every single year, no matter how heartbreaking some of those losses are, the fact that it happened to you in the middle of a dynasty does make it sting less. Whereas like, there are teams that never win shit that never go back that, you know, looking back for their fan base, it must hurt a lot worse than it hurts, you know, a Patriots fan or like a Chiefs fan. Like the Chiefs lost to the Bengals in 2021, right?
Yes.
Casey led by 18 points in the AFC Championship game, and they blew the 18-point lead and lost to Burrow and the Bengals, right? That sucks. But it happened to the Chiefs, and you know, they got their get back and won rings after that.
Any dynasty, just by the nature of how often they're in the mix, are going to have bad games that they've lost, right? I mean, the Patriots, you think about the Eagles, you think about 2015, the Broncos, right? In the AFC Championship game, they lost on an interception on a 2-point conversion because Gostkowski missed the extra point or whatever. I don't know if I could really sit here and say, like, those are horrible losses in the same way that I might if they happen to like the Vikings or some shit, or the Lions or the Browns or some team like that. Yeah. So those I definitely won't count. If you had one other ring around the time, we can have the
you're
conversation.
Not a dynasty.
You're not a dynasty, but it still is different than the ultimate crushing defeat, which is like, this was our 1 year. We're a team that has either never won it ever or hasn't won it in ages. and then we lost in brutal fashion, and we never really got back with that squad again. That is the ultimate pain that can't be replicated by anything that could happen to a one-time Super Bowl winning team or something like that.
So Malcolm Butler wouldn't be in my top five list, but I do think it would make my top 10 at least. But let's get back into 28-3, because that is the worst loss of all time, and I don't think it's particularly close. Matt, you were talking about just how, like, the game was 28-3 for a while, right into the third quarter.
Yeah, there was nothing fluky about it where the Falcons got up 28-3, but at least maybe it was kind of really early in the game or something, or they pulled off, like, they had like a crazy hot first quarter, and then it's 28-3 with 12 minutes to play in the second quarter, 7 minutes to play or something like that. And then the Patriots just have forever to come back. The Patriots really didn't start coming back until the very, very final dying seconds. I mean, even though they did score with 2 minutes, like, if you're up 25 points with 17 minutes to go in the Super Bowl, man,
you should win.
You should probably win that game. And of course, there's some added pain to it with the decision making around when they got into field goal range and they still decided to keep dropping back, and how that cost them a shot at a field goal that likely would have sealed it overall, especially since it was after, you know, this amazing Julio Jones catch to set that up.
Yes.
And how that's kind of followed, you know, Kyle Shanahan around for a while now, considering he's got a couple of other Super Bowl losses that very easily could be on your list too.
He's got a lot of playoff losses that you can sort of either chalk up to being his fault or his fault adjacent, just based on decision making. And this is really the pinnacle of that.
The Julio catch is really what makes you want to throw up all over the place when you think about that loss. Like, there's 4 minutes, 48 seconds left. They're up by 8. And this first ballot Hall of Famer that has played for you, right? This legendary player, one of the all-time greats, makes his best career play to seal the game, as far as I'm concerned. 4 minutes left, you're in field goal range, and I mean deep in field goal range. Like, he catches that
like
thing.
The 22.
Yeah, at like the 22-yard line. Just one of the all-time plays in NFL history. Matt Ryan is scrambling out. Yeah, it's exactly on the 22. Crazy catch. Like, I can't even begin to explain how the degree of difficulty on that. And then to not score and then to lose, it's sickening. It's sickening. I have another Julio Jones L. Another Falcons L that is underrated in terms of all-time losses. It's maybe not chronological, like number 2 worst loss ever, but because it's the Falcons, do you want to hear about it?
Sure.
It's the 2013 or 2012. I don't know how to categorize these years. It's the 2012-2013 season.
Yeah. It's
the NFC Championship game, Falcons versus 49ers. The Falcons lose. Julio Jones had 100 yards in the first quarter. He had 100 yards in the first quarter. He begins the second quarter with a 20-yard touchdown. Contested catch, toe tap, all-time catch from him, right, again. So early in the second quarter, Julio is at 120 yards, and the 49ers are at -2. And it's 17-0 Falcons in the NFC Championship game. And they blow the lead, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into the blown lead. There's a fumbled snap in the red zone that the 49ers recover. There's a pick that Matt Ryan throws. There's a stand in the red zone that the 49ers make, and then Ryan gets hurt and can't even try the Hail Mary. But I think that's an underrated one, to have Julio going off to such a hot start, to be up 17-0 in an NFC Championship game, and to be a franchise that just has never won anything, right? Like, that, it sucks. It sucks. And you think 17-point lead, blown lead in the NFC Championship game, how could it ever get worse than that? Well, there's like one loss with several degrees worse than that. The poor Falcons. I was thinking about the Twitter Spaces moment where they draft Michael Penix and the guy screams. It's a famous video. That scream, that only happens if you've never won a Super Bowl and you've experienced these kinds of losses. If the Falcons have 2 rings, or if they win 2016 and they win the 2012 NFC Championship game, that whole space is like, let's hear them out. Like maybe they can do this. Like maybe it'll be a transition. Like if they have success, everything is all good. Like we got to trust the Falcons. Like they win. We've seen it. But because they lose these games and always let them down, and because that's all you can come to expect from the team, that scream had echoes of these losses in it. All right. It's everything. The temperature is turned up on everything that happens until you win one. Like for the Packers, when they won in 2010, like the years start to slip away after you win. Like I remember looking like at 2016, the last couple Super Bowl winners. I'm like, man, that Packers win is way too far away, like way too long. That was way too long ago. It feels like it was just yesterday, because when you win one, it's like, even if you lose all these other years, you still like, that's still, your team is still the Super Bowl champs. Like it really does smooth over a lot going
all
forward.
Those guys still won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
That's what it is.
As long as Rodgers is around, he's still a Super Bowl champion, and the Packers are still as long as Ted Thompson is around, it's still a Super Bowl winning organization that like you can be proud of. You can't be proud of the Falcons. No Falcons fan is proud of the Falcons, and they really should be.
All right, Blaiden, you and me both had 28-3 as our number 1 worst loss ever. What did you have at number 2?
At number 2, you could go with a lot of options for the Buffalo Bills. You could pick 4 of them if you really wanted to. But I am going to take the last one, losing to the Dallas Cowboys. I think losing 4 straight, at a certain point, your spirit just breaks. I think that might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Even though wide right is such a notorious saying, and they lost that one by a lot more than some of the previous ones, I just think losing 4 would absolutely destroy me as a fan.
You're talking about 1994.
This is the 1994-1995 season. They lose 30-13, I believe is the final score. It's just
the Cowboys. To
the Cowboys, yeah.
Losing 4 Super Bowls in a row is absolutely crazy. They lost 30-13, 52-17, 37-24, and 20-19. They didn't get any closer.
Is the one. The 20-19 one is the one that would be next, because that one was really close, and it sort of kicked off this run of losing 4 straight. And that call of wide right is now like embedded into Bills history. But I just, losing the 4th one, I just can't. Like at some point, you might go into that game thinking we're due, right?
Yeah, I thought we were due for some luck.
and to lose that one again, it just, especially back to Dallas, because Dallas beat them twice in a row. That's got to sting more than anything. I think losing 4 straight. So that's my number 2.
I see it. I think I would go with the first loss, just because it is, you're really on the brink, and there's no cope of like, they were just the better team that day. It's like, kicker, we're gonna kill you. We're gonna kill you. You can't come back. Like, fuck you. I don't know. Something about a missed kick to lose. It's that's got like special aura.
I guess I get that would be the next one right after is that one, but I'm trying to limit myself to 1 per team, and I was like, I have to pick 1 for Buffalo. It's gonna be
wide right's worse than the 4th straight.
You think so?
The 4th
I think if you win any of the 4, you're feeling okay about that run. If you win any of the 4, whether it be 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, like it's definitely like maybe the saddest after the 4. Like, I wasn't alive. This has never happened to me. I'd love to know how a Bills fan feels like after all 4. Like you're feeling the weight. I see the argument that you're feeling the weight, but you also are feeling the weight of the first loss so much when you lose the fourth one. You're like, damn, like you're getting even more mad at wide right. You're getting even more mad at the kicker.
Yes.
But the one kicker, the kicker is who's like getting the brunt of the anger after every loss of like, if we could just get that one, if you could just make your kick, like it might just make the focus on that loss more concise.
I can see that. I mean, I think from an objective standpoint, if we were grading these losses, like it's close game, it's a Super Bowl, like, yeah, that is probably the grading scale worst loss. But I was trying to put myself in the shoes of a Bills fan here.
And you are the expert on losing.
You don't think that they would say 91 is the worst of the four?
They might say. I mean, that is the most popular one. It is
because it's the only one that they didn't get nuked into oblivion in. I think that one's definitely the worst.
I think that's fair.
It's the most classic loss in the history of pro football. They were in the big game and they missed the big kick to lose by 1 point.
To lose by one.
It doesn't get any more classic than that. I guess it wasn't actually the very last play. There was like a kneel down, I think. It wasn't as time expired, but still. But we count it.
Yeah, that don't matter.
It is effectively a walk-off.
A walk-off missed field goal. Yeah, that's the worst.
If you win that one, losing the Cowboys game 3 years later is way more okay.
It's way more okay, but I would also say the same thing for if you win any of those others. Losing that, like winning any of them makes
I guess
okay.
Yeah.
Matt,
I feel you there. I think the most heartbreaking one is the one where you're closest. That's all. But I feel what you're saying.
In a vacuum, it's just the fact that they happen back to back to back to back. You would think at some point you're gonna get over the hump in one of those, and to in the last one not get there, and then
that makes the one that you were close in more painful looking back on it,
because it's like that was your chance.
Yeah, I think if anything, that's really what makes wide right so bad, is that they then got back, but they were never ever close again. And every time you watch it, it's like, damn, if we had just won that game, if we had just hit that kick, this would suck, but it wouldn't be anything like it is now.
Yeah,
because imagine if they lost in the AFC Championship game after, right? It's about the, like, getting to all those Super Bowls and tasting it is extra painful. But at the end of the day, like, an L is an L. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm with Matt that it's the first one. It's the first one that's the worst. But I understand, like, the way you are feeling after the cumulative 4 might be the bottom, but the worst individual loss is the first one.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to look at it. But you're right. That was kind of my perception. Is it's like a feeling that after the fourth one you would be truly
down in the dumps.
I think you're kind of giving the final Super Bowl there all the credit for the 4-game streak. Of losses rather than that loss itself being as painful. I have wide right at 2.
I think that's fine.
But it's specifically, it's bad and it's horrible in its own right. It might be 2 on its own, and then as you look back on it, the fact that they lost 3 more Super Bowls and they got killed in all of them, so where it's like, that was our chance even though we got back and we just missed the kick. You just missed the game-winning kick.
Missed the kick. It's
how long was this kick? Do you guys know?
47.
Yeah, 47.
Pretty long for that day and age.
Yeah, it wasn't a gimme. It'd be like a 55-yarder. No, it wasn't Walsh. It wasn't Gary Anderson or anything, but it doesn't really matter. It was a makeable kick for the Super Bowl. If it had been like a 65-yarder, in today's game or something, or a 60-plus yarder in today's game, we have the conversation about, well, the kick itself. But even then, even if it was a 60-yarder today, you'd be like, dude, the ball was in the air. We had if it went one way, we won. It went the other way, we lost, and that's it. So I don't know, man.
How much did this miss by? It was pretty close too.
It was very close. No, like it
wasn't quite a doink, but it was only a couple feet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, it was very, very close. How far was, I'm just thinking about other like missed kicks. How far was the Iron Bowl field goal?
It was a monster kick.
I know that one was a
they brought in another kicker. Not their usual guy had missed a million times. They brought in another kicker with a longer leg, I think.
Yeah.
And they said, screw it, we'll try it, because there was a whole debate about whether or not they got out of bounds in time. They weren't really like trying to drive down they were sort of like half playing it. It was probably going to go to overtime. So the thing is that Saban challenges that the game was over, that regulation was over, and they win. It turns out they stepped out of bounds with 1 second, and they kick that. And the reason why it was short is because it was a very long kick. Yeah, and
it looks like 57 yards. They kick it at the 47.
Which is really long for college.
Yeah, geez. Yeah. So. It's not. None of it's good. It's funny that the Bills have this era of Super Bowl losses that is like substantially worse than what they're going through now, and what they're going through now might be number like 3 on this list. Like it's
if you could put a stretch in, I mean, then we could have a whole conversation about the Bills as a whole.
What I'm trying to do is like this Bills stretch of 91 to 94 is my number 2 spot, but really it's the worst stretch of
that. See, to me, that's cheating.
Fandom ever. It is cheating. Yeah. It is cheating, but like that's kind of what I was trying to do. Maybe 91 is the one to put on.
I'll say this: if they had lost the first Super Bowl by 20, none of those games would be on my list. It'd be a bad stretch, but none of them would make my list.
I think the 4th would still be on my list if they lost the first.
I think that's cheating. I think that's cheating and completely unfair.
4 straight Super Bowls, dude.
What do you guys have?
I'm not saying.
Do you have any Josh Allen losses
in my top 10 all time? No, not quite. But there's a lot of them that are really bad. They're almost all really bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about them, where none of them are by themselves. Like, they're all bad, of course, because losing in the championship game sucks, and you're there all the time, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you're the Bills, and you've never won anything before, and you've lost 4 Super Bowls in a row at this point. And will we ever win anything here in Buffalo? The small town heroes or whatever. But none of them to me are quite all-time bad. 13 seconds sucks, but
13 seconds was the closest to being.
It was the divisional round, so you still have to imagine getting through the conference championship and winning the Super Bowl. It's just a little bit far away. It's not like they were the 1 seed that year either, so it's not like they were even like, oh, this is definitely their year or anything like that. And I think that's maybe what has kind of kept the Bills from being perhaps all-time bad, is like they've always been kind of the little brother to the Chiefs. So like, was there ever a year where they went in like really thinking this is it?
I got a great answer to this question.
Please.
So since 2019, the Bills have lost, I guess it would be now 6 or would it be 7?
8, 5 or 6?
Somewhere in between, yeah.
5 or 6 or 7.
6 and 8. They've lost 7 playoff games, right?
Yeah.
3 of them have gone to overtime, and in all but one of them, they have led the other team in DVOA during the regular season. I was shocked by this stat. By DVOA, they have been better than the team that they played every year, but this season against Denver. They were 8th, Denver was 7th. Yeah, I can't believe it. The year where it's like, where were they the best? It was a year that they got killed by the Bengals. That was the year they were first in DVOA, and they lost brutally. And I believe that's the only game that 19, not a big deal. They were kind of feisty in the wild card, and this was Allen's sort of breakout year in the back half.
Yeah.
They lose in OT to the Texans, whatever, right? 20, they get to the conference championship game. They're really good that year. They're 3rd in DVOA. I think they're like 13-3 or something. and they lose a game where they're like never really in it. They're more than 2 possessions away basically the entire game after I think the first quarter and a half. The Chiefs handle it, and they make it a 2-score game late, but I mean it's never close.
Yeah,
21 is 42-36 Chiefs in the divisional. That's 13 seconds. Then 22, that's the year they play the Bengals and they get kind of killed by the Bengals. 23 divisional. It was 27-24 with 10 to play, and the Bills drop that bomb that would have put them in field goal range to tie it up. They have multiple chances in the fourth quarter where you're like, okay, this is it. Josh Allen's got the ball with the chance to take the lead, and there's a lot of time left, and they don't get it done. They punt. They get the ball back. They don't get it done again. They have that 4th down play, the one where they dropped the ball. Remember, he was blitzed, and he like rolled out and threw it up there, and you're like, well, that's just a total duck or whatever. And it still gets in the hands of a receiver. I'm blanking on who, and it's dropped.
Was it Shakir, maybe? But yeah, this is the one where
maybe.
No. This was the one where Ben Solak got blitzed because he said that it should have gone to Shakir on like a little orbit, right. And then it is dropped by Kincaid after some craziness. Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember now. Yeah. And then it's 2024. They lose to the Chiefs by 3.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm mixing them up. 23, they also lost by 3. 24 is the year that play happened. And by 24, I mean the 24 season, the 25 playoffs. And then last year was the Broncos game. So they've lost like at least 4 heartbreakers and another one where they got killed in the season that they shouldn't have. It's not
Broncos
great.
One is probably it might be the worst one.
It's the worst one. It's interesting. It depends on how you look at it. On the one hand, the Bills have had much better teams than this, and I would argue this is the one year where, like, how do you think the Bills would have done against the Seahawks if they had even beaten the Patriots?
I think
they would have had a chance.
Allen always easily gives you a chance, but they lost to the Broncos.
But they would have been dogs in that game, and the Seahawks. The Seahawks would have won that game, man. The Seahawks were a really good team that went up against a team that they should have beaten, and they just took care of business in the Super Bowl like they were supposed to. I know Allen's great. I think he could have given them some magic, but I also think like the reality of the team and the receiver room is going to catch up to you in games like that. In fact, I know in games like that, the reality of the receiver room and the team, regardless of who your quarterback is, it catches up to them, man.
50-year-old kicker.
And Allen was playing banged up in the Broncos game, and we saw like a lot of plays where he like didn't really seem himself. Like how much does that carry over the further into the playoffs you go? Obviously, you get the extra week off before the Super Bowl, but is that?
I don't know. I thought he seemed himself in the Broncos game. I really did. Like he had bad plays.
Regardless, the argument against the Broncos loss is that Bills team wasn't really that good. The argument for it is they never had an easier path to the Super Bowl and didn't get it done.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And the fumble is like perhaps the worst individual play of any of them.
Oh, they had a number of just bad. I mean, they turned the ball over 5 times, including like a James Cook just fumble, the Allen fumble, and then the Cooks got the ball ripped away. So at 13 seconds is also up there. I mean, when you go rewatch it, the thing you have to remember about 13 seconds is that it really was not that cool. The 13 seconds, it wasn't that cool at all. No offense, Chiefs fans, but like go back and watch. Here's what happened. The series before, the way the Chiefs scored so quickly is that Hill like caught it and ran for 65 yards. So
that's the greatest play in NFL history. That play.
It's ridiculous. So like the Bills come back out here and they're so scared of that happening again that they're in super duper mega prevent defense. But the thing is that the Chiefs are only 40 yards away from Butker field goal range. And that 13 seconds with all your timeouts, if you know what you're doing and you know how soft the defense is going to be, it really looked like Madden out there. It really was like, this is how a kid would play it in Madden. But the Bills were super soft, so Tyreek just gets like underneath and immediately picks up 20 yards. And then it's like, oh shit, there's 8 seconds left and they just need another 20-yard chunk play and they're in field goal range. and then they like zip to Kelce on a slant,
Yeah.
who, going back and watching some of these Chiefs games, because you go back and watch them for the 49ers too, we used to have velocity when we ran Kelce FC, and nobody is going to remember him like this. Everyone's remembering him like he is now, but Kelce used to have some velocity when he ran.
He did.
I like to think someday we'll look back and remember Kelce is like not his 34-year-old self.
Nope, because here's what's going to happen. Between the fact that he is now going to extend his career like 9 years post-prime or whatever we're on, not really, but, and the fact that he's always going to be comped to Gronk. So he's already sort of like the lesser athlete, more route running guy, but it's like, no, he was also a great athlete.
Yeah.
I swear to God, please believe
me. We need to keep bringing up the play against the Chargers when he just like swerved through the defense and scored a walk-off game winner. If we keep bringing that up for all time.
Who's we? We Gronk FC over here.
You're not Gronk FC. Don't joke. You can think you're not Gronk FC.
When he blocked that guy into the camera cart, oh, buddy.
No.
I've never seen Kelce block anybody into equipment.
We're running routes. We want to get yards, but cool.
Matt, so Bills is your number 2. Theo, we haven't really discussed what your 1 and 2 are. I assume your 1 is 28-3.
Oh yeah, I don't really have a top 10. I just kind of have a list of 2010 games that like I would kill myself if I was a fan. And at number 1, it's the 2016 game. Number 2, it's Malcolm Butler pick. It really is. I understand that like the Seahawks can always look back at their Broncos win that happened in that same time and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I mean, at the time, no one had ever come back from a touchdown or a more than a touchdown deficit in the fourth quarter in Super Bowl history. And they were
Shit just wasn't happening back in the day. They just weren't doing anything for the first. And before I was alive, literally nothing happened in NFL history. It's almost unbelievable.
That's kind of what my list is about, right? But they were the Seahawks were up 10 with like 8 minutes left. So at the time that the Patriots came back, it was not only the interception at the end, but they had already kind of completed maybe the best comeback in Super Bowl history, right? Against the top defense. And then of course the interception happens and like that play is truly like a 99-0 win percentage swing. Of course, you're
it's
this
the most
close.
Pivotal play in NFL history.
Yeah, no doubt.
Outside of maybe wide right, maybe, but that's different.
It might be different. I mean,
it's different because you didn't walk in. You walk into a play like a field goal kick for game, but the last second you're like, this is it. This is the big kick. When you're running on the goal line, you know these are big time plays, but you don't know that the game is going to end on this play.
It should not have ended on that play, and that's a long field goal
because it was like second down. It was like second down on the Malcolm Butler play, right?
Famously,
yeah. There's a much more likely chance that the Seahawks score there than I think a 47-yard kick in 1991 to me. So that one's probably my number 2. My number 3 might be the Saints and the Rams in the 2018 NFC Championship game. And that one is so bad just because you can literally put all the blame on the ref. And if you're a Saints fan, you can genuinely feel like the refs just screwed us here. Like there's bad losses, but at the end of the day, Russell Wilson is responsible for that ball leaving his hand. And Matt Ryan might be responsible for that sack or the offensive lineman or whoever in the 2016 Super Bowl. I don't remember at least any game-changing referee call. I remember like a comedy of errors. For that 2018 loss, like it just would kill me inside to be the Saints, to be Drew Brees, right? Kind of his last real shot at it. To be, I mean, it's a minute 40 left. They're in the red zone. It'll be a chip shot field goal. It ended up being a chip shot field goal anyway, right? But it would just be even more chip shot. If that's called, it's first down, 140. The Rams have one timeout. they're kneeing it out and kicking the field goal, and they're winning the game.
It's game over if they win.
It's game
completely
over.
Fair to say that it would have been, because they could have run around in the backfield they would have been able to run a minute 20 just off of the clock straight up, and then between the plays themselves and the field goal. Yeah, I mean, it's about
and
as close to game as you could possibly be.
Like, they could have scored with time expiring. There's a million ways they win that game. They would have just settled for the field goal, I would guess. But yeah, that one is more harmful than the Minnesota Miracle, which is bad and a disaster, but happens around earlier. And there's no level of like, we got robbed, like we got screwed. And the other thing about it is that the pass interference itself was so bad and so obvious. Tommy Lee Lewis got hit so hard he turns like completely sideways in the air, and Roby Coleman like doesn't even look for the ball at all. No. He makes no effort to like make it any sort of like maybe or not, or he doesn't hook his arm and then kind of flip. He just goes over and pushes him and just clobbers the dude, and they don't make the call. And I mean, the Saints still could have won that game. Nobody made Drew Brees throw that interception in OT.
Exactly.
But that doesn't make it any less painful, really.
I think the Minneapolis Miracle is worse because the Saints still had a chance to win the Rams game. Like, first of all, after the play, they have the lead. They're literally winning.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. But you had the win robbed from you, and then you lost.
Yes, I thought the same thing at first of like, well, those Saints, that call is so bad, but they could get a stop, they could get a score in overtime. There's all these ways that they could have overcome it. But as a fan, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about how the game should have been over already. The game should have been over, and it would have been over, and we would have won, but the refs fucked us, and they did. They are right about that. I think
so. Let's say the Saints score a touchdown here, and then the Rams come out and score a touchdown.
Yep, it would be way less. It wouldn't be nearly as bad of a loss.
It would. At least you could feel like we lost ethically, but that wouldn't. And it wasn't.
Hold on. That wouldn't have happened. They knee the ball out and they win the game.
Yeah, they're taking knees and running clock.
They knee the ball out and then they kick the field goal to win.
Yes, and it's only like a 20-yard field goal. It's like
so, and maybe. We know they hit the longer one, so I'm just going to assume that as any Saints fan should.
What if they missed it?
Then it's still a horrible loss. Yeah,
I understand what you're saying. Like, well, they still had a chance, but that doesn't really make the loss any easier.
Yeah, that makes it worse, maybe.
I think the fact actually that's an interesting point. I didn't think about that. Maybe it does make it worse. I just feel like with the Minneapolis Miracle losing on a play where you had like, not only did you have like it's a walk-off game winner, you had the game in your hands, but you had a chance to stop Diggs after he caught the ball. And the safety just totally whiffs.
I'm thinking about it like this. Panthers Super Bowl 50, which we have not talked about yet, but is very obviously on this list in spite of it not ending super tight. Oh, don't even start with me here, man. Not even debatably, it's number 3 on my list.
All time?
Yes.
I have a Browns play at number 3 for mine, so it's okay. Yep. I have a Browns
Super Bowl 50 is that bad?
Okay, finish your thought, and then we'll get into Super Bowl 50 being that bad.
Okay, here was my thought. What would be worse, Blaiden?
Yeah.
The way that the Panthers lost the Super Bowl and how Von Miller just beat Mike Rimmers straight up. Sure. Or if on that play he beat Mike Rimmers and stripped the ball and scored a touchdown, he was offsides by a wide margin and it just wasn't called. Not even close. It would be so bad if he was offside.
I don't know. I don't know if it will, because
fuck up your psyche, man.
This is an interesting debate because I at some point I'm going to bring up, they're not on my list, but they're my honorable mention, which is the Bengals against the Rams, losing that game.
Yeah.
I think that is a one where Jamar Chase is clearly going to score a touchdown. Like, if Burrow gets half a second longer, and then Akeem Adeniji just gets mauled by Aaron Donald. and the game's over, right? And
that's a game that also.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Theo.
That's a game that also featured a really questionable call on Logan Wilson in the red zone. And that's probably what stings worse. Like Adeniji getting cooked. Like, yeah, that's a guy that's on our team, man. Like we can control how good our guard is. Like that's the point of the off season and the point of player development and all that. So if Akeem Adeniji gets cooked and we lose that way, it sucks. It sucks. Like it sucks when your kicker misses a kick. It sucks when your running back fumbles. It sucks. But it sucks to a whole different level when it's like literally the ref made a bad call and we lost because of it. And that's why you could, I think, make the argument that 2018 NFC Championship game even ranks higher because it's like literally the refs fucked us. Like it is just that simple.
And that Saints team was good enough. They may have even been favored in the Super Bowl. I don't know where the line exactly would have been, but they were good enough to.
They were favored by 3 in that game. And
then it stings because the Rams go and put up such a pitiful performance in the Super Bowl themselves. So you're like, God damn it, dude. It's not like, I don't know. I think that's among the very, 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 very worst losses ever. Easily.
They also blew a 13-point lead. They were up 13 at one point too.
It almost doesn't even matter. It's just the fact that you were in the NFC Championship game and there was a call that took away what would have basically been a for sure win. There's probably never been, I don't know, maybe that's not true. I'm trying to think. And it's not like they missed somebody's pinky toe being out of bounds or even something like that. It is directly like what caused the play to be unsuccessful was the penalty, right? It's not that a taunting didn't get called. It's not that some guy away from the play was lined up in the neutral zone and they just didn't see it, but it didn't really matter. It is directly like someone committed a penalty that just blew up the play entirely right in front of the refs as obviously as possible when you would have won the game if the play had been successful or if you had gotten the call and you didn't, and then you blow it in overtime. And then from that point on, the story of the team is our legendary quarterback is probably just a little bit too old, right?
Yeah.
The Saints didn't fall apart immediately after that, but they never really got back to where they were that year.
No, they didn't.
And you can't console a Saints fan by saying, well, hey, you blew it in overtime. Like, that doesn't make me feel better.
It doesn't make you feel better. It doesn't make you feel better. But like in the moment, I'm like, oh my God, what an awful call. But it's like, okay, we're winning the game. We get a stop. We still win. And then you don't get a stop. And it's like, we're going into overtime. And
no fan. Maybe from the outside looking in, you should say Saints fans should feel that way. They should keep their composure. They shouldn't make excuses. But no one. They started a petition to get the game.
In the Minneapolis,
it got a lot of signatures.
There's no excuse to make. You just lose to Case Keenum. You just lose to Case Keenum, dude, and that's it.
Like the Minneapolis Miracle sucks too, but this one is worse. This one I think is worse. I would love a Saints fan to weigh in if I'm wrong. But I have to assume that this one's worse.
And then this is specifically again what I disagree with you on your what would be the more glorious way. I think that most of the time applies, but the most painful way is a ref call. And if I was setting up a loss for my enemy, I wouldn't want them to have an out like that. But the fact that they have an out is what makes it so frustrating. That's what makes it so. I mean, they were right, and they lost their mind. They were robbed of a chance to go to the Super Bowl. I'm sure I've put something out there at some point being like, shut up, it's fine, you're fine. But like, no, it's not. They got robbed of a chance. They did. It was no biggie. You could have won anyway. Shut up.
The petition was a bit much, but you guys did
literally every single fan base would react like that.
I would sign the petition. Mind. Yeah, I would not sign the petition for the Saints.
I'd be creating accounts, bro.
I would not sign the petition.
For the Browns, you would say
I would say, look, dude, win the game.
What if Roger Goodell would legitimately be fearing for his life if that happened to the Browns, man?
Ohio is scary. I don't want to.
Okay, I wouldn't. Not that I really want to see this happen to you, but I will say, if the ref should happen to the Browns, bro,
That would be so classic.
People say
you can never complain about the refs again, Blaiden. Also, by the way,
I literally never complain about. I am the least complain about the refs guy of all time.
Okay, weird. Mark it down.
I'm just saying, like,
we're not even going to try to get you in hindsight. We've all formed new opinions and become a new version of ourselves. Whatever you've said before, you have molted past that, bro.
True. But also, I think Browns fans have had this sort of like the ref screwed us moment with the Chiefs game, right? Because they're like,
it was a bad no
targeting.
call.
It should have been targeting on.
It should have been. It was a bad call. But that's completely different because
they had Chad Henne in, and they let him scramble for
Mahomes
the game
being out for the back end of that game was a way bigger break than what the Chiefs got.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like the Browns,
and I'm sure the Browns would have gotten smoked later down the line. That team was like 14th in offensive and defensive EPA per play or something, where it's like, God bless them. So that is. I agree. You're very honorable about that, and it was a bad call because I went back and watched that game because I knew it was going to come up. Frankly, I wasn't confident that it wasn't going to be within your top 10, if I'm being real. But apparently, I'm the one who's overestimating my team's bad loss. But I feel very strongly about this.
Third, yep. It's bad. It's that bad. But is it bad. Third?
Yes.
Why is it third? Is it just Cam Newton's legacy in the mud, basically?
Well, there's a number of things. The thing that you have to remember about Carolina too. We've lost the close one. We've lost the Super Bowl on the last second play. Mm-hmm. We lost Super Bowl on a game-losing field goal.
Sure, yeah.
And I don't think anybody would say that loss is anything close to how bad Super Bowl 50 was. And I know a lot of people's view of that game is that it was some horrible blowout. No, it wasn't. They didn't actually get blown out. They were actually in it. The real script of that game was, okay, weird start, but we'll be okay. But then, okay, but we're going to, and then they never did. They never figured it out. Carolina had a chance not only to win the Super Bowl, but to go down as one of the greatest teams ever. We'd be having that argument right now.
Yeah.
Now, they weren't really like quite as good as their record said, but sorry, dude, like they nuked the Cardinals the week before.
At the very least, we would have been talking about that Cam Newton season as the greatest MVP season.
And they would have been among the greatest teams ever for sure if they had pulled that off. But the game script was as brutal as it could be. The team after that did not win a playoff game until today, currently. And the Broncos team that they lost to was so pathetic on offense that if they had just not had these disaster back-breaking plays, they walk out with a win. The Broncos didn't do shit on offense that whole game. And the Panthers actually did string together a number of drives, even outside of, I mean, I could run through drive by drive how it went down, bro. I mean, it's like Broncos score a field goal to start it. And I will go through it drive by drive. Panthers 3 and out, Broncos 3 and out. Panthers fumble, return for a touchdown. It's 10-0 Denver. That's the famous Von Miller score, whatever. Panthers 7 plays, punt. Broncos -2 yards, 3 and out. Panthers score a touchdown. It's 10-7. Okay. Settle down. The Broncos have gone 3 and out multiple times in a row. We had a dumb fumble. They had their opening game script, so now we're cool. Broncos, -12 yards, 3 and out. All right. We're getting the ball back with a chance. Panthers, -2 yards, 3 and out, 61-yard punt return, which was the longest in NFL history at the time, only now beaten by Kadarius Toney. Broncos, -1 yard drive for a field goal. It's 13-17. Okay. All right. That has been about all of the bad breaks. We have given up an offensive touchdown. We have given up basically a special teams 3-point for free, but it's still a 1-score game. Panthers driving in Broncos territory. Mike Tolbert fumbles the ball. Broncos are driving a little bit. Coney Ely interception. Shout out to him, who played a monster game, if you remember. Panthers get to start at their own 40. They go 3 and out. Broncos go 3 and out. Panthers, 2-minute drill right before halftime. They go 26 yards in 8 plays with 2 minutes to go, and it's halftime. All of this considered, how bad the first half was, let me tell you something. In the Spawnhour household, it was a lot of, for how bad they played. you'll take being down 6. It's all good.
Yeah.
Panthers get ball at half. 54-yard drive, stalls, they miss the field goal. Broncos answer with their own field goal. They're up 16-7. Panthers, 52-yard drive, interception from a drop from Ted Ginn in the red zone. Mike Tolbert makes an amazing play to poke the ball away, and it is rolling, not like bouncing near where the Broncos player was, rolling wide open. Panthers do not fall on that, of course. Broncos 4 plays and punt, Panthers 5 plays and punt. Broncos fumble at midfield to start the 4th quarter. Coney Ely strip sack. Okay. All right. Let's do this. Panthers 29-yard drive, field goal. All right, it's a 1-score game. Broncos 3 and out, Panthers 3 and out, Broncos 3 and out. Panthers, Cam Newton fumbled the ball, and they don't get it back. Broncos 4-yard touchdown drive with 3:08 to play. Panthers, with 3:08 down 14, take a sack on 2nd down with 2 minutes to go. And on 4th and 24, with 2 minutes to go down 2 possessions, they punt the ball.
Yeah, I don't know why I do that.
To who? Hoping for a
Riverboat Ron, baby.
3 and out, game over. It is the, I mean,
they got 2 possessions after the punt?
Broncos 3 and out, Panthers 3 and out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Look, I know the score. I know what it says. I know other teams have thought they had it and they didn't. I'm telling you, the thought that we had it was the 2 weeks leading up to the game where they were going to play ancient Peyton Manning. They're probably only 5 or 6 point favorites in this one.
They're 5. They're 5.
But they should not have lost to a team that had that Peyton Manning. That is the worst quarterback to play, I swear to God, since I have watched that game in the NFL. It is, I mean, I guess there's probably a handful of guys who can't even read the defense or go out there as 3rd string. But to be in any sort of high leverage game,
Super Bowl.
It is unbelievable how bad Manning was at that point. It is unbelievable the Panthers, after the season they had, lost a game like that. They have never won a Super Bowl. They have never been good since. And in some ways, it's even more frustrating than like 28-3. Falcons fans, imagine if everybody's conclusion after that game was like, Julio Jones fucking sucks. Julio Jones is a terrible player. Julio Jones has never actually been any good. That's what happened.
That is what happened.
That is what.
So like, I mean, I understand where people are coming from, and oh, you're biased or whatever. I really don't think that I am. Well, no, I don't think that I am at all.
I think you might be a little biased. I think that's okay. I get your vision. I do. Because a lot of these we look at from the perspective of the fan. So I think you're right to look, like, as a Panthers fan, you have a better view on this than anyone.
It only gets more frustrating the more that you think about it. And like the Panthers have been in a situation where it was the other way around and they lost like the more stereotypical, it was just a close game and they couldn't get it at the end. John Casey kicks it out of bounds and lets Tom Brady waddle downfield for 25 yards or whatever. How does he do it? How would he not? He's starting in field goal range. Yeah, that's bad too. Granted, I don't really remember that game, but you know what? I've also watched Ohio State blow about 1 trillion dumb games. I've watched them lose back-breaking ones. Ask me, 2019 Clemson, the T. Higgins thing versus Super Bowl 50. It's just not even remotely close. I promise you the factors that make Super Bowl 50 unique make it worse than a lot of other games. Now, if you want to argue the bad call for the Saints is different, okay. But like, man, that was the Panthers' year. They didn't, they had a losing record the year before and the year after, man. Yeah. Like that was, and they were 15-1 and they killed the Cardinals. They murdered them, dude. So no, I really
7 takeaways.
I really, really, really do think that game is sort of a special, bizarro set of circumstances. I really, really do. I understand if you think that I'm biased. There's a handful.
3 is too high, I think, still. But I will say, like, going through all the 2010s games, it did stand out to me as since 2010, that's the most favored a Super Bowl loser has been. I believe I have that correct.
I would wonder how many Super Bowl losers have been favored. I mean, I know the Patriots were monster favorites.
That's 2008. I think it was like 13 and a half.
Yeah.
But I didn't look at 2008 because I started in 2010. But
even and here's the thing. I think that 2000. That's another great example. Of course, they lost this game late on a crazy catch anyway. So you can sort of just point to that. But that isn't actually what makes the loss that bad. If it had been a non-Plaxico Burress level just close game, right? If it had just been they lose by a field goal or something, I still would rank pretty dang high off the back of the fact that that was a special team and it was a game that they really weren't supposed to lose.
Yeah,
and
that's
also,
fair.
like, don't get me wrong, the Plaxico play, not the Plaxico, Plaxico scored the game-winning touchdown.
You're thinking of David Tyree.
Tyree, of course, right? Of course, that does move it up because it was such a ridiculous moment. But it's also kind of moved down by the fact that the Patriots have won 1 million Super Bowls there.
Yes.
So that's you have that below.
Does matter.
Absolutely, yes, I do. And it's because I'm sorry, the Patriots have just won too damn much.
Yes.
For the Panthers, it was for everything. It was for everything. You just can't be as bitter about that one. Imagine if everybody thought Tom Brady sucked and that was his whole legacy. No, they think Tom Brady is the GOAT. Maybe if you're a Randy Moss guy, but nobody is low on Randy Moss. Right. Nobody has ever been low on Randy Moss in their maybe that's not true, but like nobody's low on Randy Moss right now.
I don't think that game hurt. That game doesn't hurt a single Patriots person from that era's legacy. Not one. In the same way.
Yeah, like it would be God,
I mean, they're all the GOAT anyway. Like they would be like farther, maybe someday.
Exactly.
Like if Mahomes if Mahomes has 9 rings one day, then that game will hurt Brady's legacy, right?
Yeah,
but as it stands right now, like despite the 2008 loss. But I don't know. Is that game worse than the 2008 loss? It's in the same tier.
I think it is, but I don't think the 2008 loss is completely off. Wouldn't even be on my top 10
because it's just a bigger. It's that turned up a caliber. But you're right that the Patriots.
The Patriots won 3 Super Bowls before that.
And then 3 after. And granted, they went on kind of a down streak and they lost to the Giants again, which makes it more painful. And it'll always be annoying in that sense. But even if it's more talked about because it's the Brady and the Patriots, no possible way it is worse than Broncos, Panthers. And I understand it's a weird one, but between the game playing out in such a way where it was more frustrating than the final score will contribute, between the fact that the Panthers not only were going for their first Super Bowl and not only this was like their rare, like this is our one chance season, but they were trying to be a special team. And the fact that they lost to such a weirdo squad where it's a legendary defense. I'm not saying that the Broncos were really like straight up bad overall, because for how bad the offense was, the defense was just that good. But like, damn, dude, you lost to Peyton Manning.
Where do you have Bengals Rams then?
Not nearly as high.
Not nearly as high.
Yeah.
Really? Why the big difference?
Because, well, first off, the Bengals story isn't written, and the Bengals were massive dogs in that game, and they lost a close, heartbreaking one in the Super Bowl, certainly. But
yes, they were underdogs.
But outside of that, what makes it a particularly painful loss? Outside of it just being a close game in the Super Bowl.
My take would be the reason why that loss is so painful is because they spent like a decade of never winning a playoff game. And the 1 year where it's like, guys, we did it. We won. We not only won a playoff game, we got to the Super Bowl. We've got Burrow. We've got Jamar Chase. We've got T. Higgins. We've got this great defense with Lou Anarumo and Jesse Bates. And then to lose on such like like you have the ball at the end and you have this like great chance. Jamar Chase wins off the line of scrimmage. He's going to be wide open for a touchdown and you just can't get the throw off. Like that sucks.
It was a brutal loss at the end, but like, why would that rank even above Super Bowl 38 for Carolina? Where you also get into a war and you've never won one. And Panthers that year were also like kind of a scrappy, we just keep winning our 1-score games team. And then they came up short on a last second field goal. I really think that this is something that I learned from this exercise. You would figure, if I told you the game script of that Bengals-Rams one, you would figure that would rank in like the top 5. They lost a backbreaker. They'd never had one in the Super Bowl. And granted, it does rank very highly.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to put it in your top 10, I can't argue. I definitely considered it, and I don't know. I kind of threw it together.
The Rams went up
just
with
a list.
The Rams went up with 1:25 left in that game, right? They were losing until the last drive. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, there's really more games like that in NFL history than you would think. At least since 2000, there's an unbelievable. That was one of my takeaways. And if I can derail us for like 2 minutes, you know what another one of my takeaways from doing this experiment was?
Yeah. What?
People should be thanking the Bills for being the team to fall on the sword and get the overtime rules changed. Oh my God. The number of old games that then ended, and this team got the ball and they puddled down the field and they scored a field goal. And are you kidding? It's insane, dude. Why we ever allowed games to be ended like that is ridiculous. Where like the coin flip just like decides like 50% of it. And I know everybody likes to do the like, well, what about good old defense? But like, why do we've gone over this a million times.
We have.
It's brutal if both teams don't get the ball in OT.
Yeah.
I wish
I do think 3
getting the coin, doing the coin flip about it is a little silly. Like, I could see an argument where like just keep going. Like if the clocks hit 0, like don't stop, don't do a new coin flip. Just like keep going and do sudden death, because if you get the ball next, like there's probably something you did earlier to kind of put yourself in that advantageous
you can
position.
At least play whether or not you have the ball, and you can sort of game plan for that.
Sure.
You have a lot more control over that versus the coin flip. I mean, I don't know what the entire ramifications would be of that. It's a little hard to even imagine. I know the guy who's big on Elam ending. I read a blog post from him, and that's what he would do. Is just keep playing the game.
Yes, I like that. I like that idea. But
regardless,
coin flip was silly.
It's great that the overtime rules have been changed. It's fantastic. It's correct. You should want it to be more fair. And I mean, again, so many games that were these massive, like this team blew it. And then and that only tied the game up. What happened? Oh, well, the other team had a 13-play, 40-yard drive that ended in a field goal after taking 7 minutes or whatever. And that was GG's. It's like, okay. So to bring it all back, I guess. Yeah, I have Super Bowl 50 really high. Yeah, I'm a Panthers fan. Yes, I don't think I'm being biased. I swear to God. I swear to God.
My number no, it's okay to be biased. My number 3 is the fumble.
What year is this?
This is 87, correct?
This is 87.
It's the 88 AFC Championship game.
The 1986-87 season is the drive. The 1987-88 season is the fumble. I think the fumble is worse because the drive is insane, right? It's a 99-yard game, like walk-off game-winning touchdown drive. Unbelievable. The Browns in the following year basically have their chance at their perfect revenge. They're marching down the field. They're in the red zone. They're inside like the 10-yard line here, and they have a chance to cap off a walk-off, like game-winning touchdown drive, and they fumble at the 1.
On like a play that was he didn't get. It was Ernest Biner.
Biner. And Ernest Biner was like
that hard.
Super reliable back all year long.
I don't know. It's interesting. On the one hand, the drive I think is a little bit more legendary in the lore of the NFL.
Yeah,
and
Elway. Right.
You had a 7-point lead in that game. The other thing about the drive, though, if you've never gone and watched it, and frankly, like I hadn't looked into it until preparing for this episode.
Yeah.
It was like a 5-minute drive. I always figured it was like a 2-minute drive.
Yeah,
there was
5 minutes in.
There's one play on 3rd and 18 at midfield where they pick up a 20-yard gain and keep the chains moving. Where I'm like, oh, that's brutal.
Yeah,
but you do it in Cleveland. That happens in Cleveland. It's super frustrating. Offense was different back then. I'm sure that's part of the math here. And then you blow it in OT. With Biner, you're down 7, but he's like dang near running into the end zone almost.
Yes.
And
I mean, he would have gotten
somebody just like gets kind of an arm in there from way outside and forces the fumble. It was not like he got blown the hell up.
No.
And even though that one was in Denver, I think the argument for that is like, you feel like you're coming back and you're going to have a chance in OT. And it's like, I don't know, you let the game slip away all on one play. I don't know, man. So I think I had those a little bit farther. I had the drive at like 8, I think. So a little bit farther down, but it's really truly boosted by the fact that it happened to the Browns.
Yeah, the drive would probably be both below Super Bowl 50 and Super Bowl 38 for me.
And you know what? It's been 40 years since that happened. And the Browns have not been back, and they still suck shit to this day, dude. They're still fucking horrible, dude. And that does matter.
It does matter that they just continue to suck. Like they had after that, they got Bill Belichick as their head coach for like 5 years, and then they moved to Baltimore, and then they come back as an expansion team, and they're the worst team in the NFL for 20 years. They've won one playoff game in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's tough. That's really one of the worst losses in NFL history. The Steelers lost to the Browns in the playoffs.
I thought about that one. I'm like, that has to be one of the worst losses to be.
It's one of the most embarrassing.
It's one of the most embarrassing losses because they started the year 11-0 and they end the year losing a playoff game to a team that had not won a playoff game for 30 years.
You know what I had next?
What?
I had the Cardinals Steelers Super Bowl.
Ooh,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
What do you?
I thought about that one.
I think that one
included in my top 5, but that's a good one.
So I mean, obviously, you know that this game was built off the back of 2 of the biggest plays of the 2000s. I think when we did our top 10, we all both had the Holmes catch at the end and James Harrison's pick 6 before half in our top 10. I think I did. And I
can't remember if I had
they were close. Maybe there was some arbitrary rule where it's like, we're not going to do like 2 plays from the same game, but pretty much like those are 2 of the craziest plays.
I definitely had the Harrison pick 6 because I was going by like more swing plays, and that's like the biggest swing play like maybe ever besides Malcolm Butler perhaps, but the 100-yard pick 6 before halftime, it was probably in my top 3 or top 5 or something like that. And then the Holmes play maybe wasn't quite the same swing, but it had more aura as a toe tapping,
and it was
game winning. Ended up being game winning. It happened a little bit earlier in the fourth quarter than I think I remember it happening. Perhaps
the Holmes.
Was it at the buzzer?
There was a little bit of time left.
There was a little bit of time. Okay. I guess too extremely.
But the argument against it would be that like the Steelers were already in field goal range, so they could have tied it up and taken it to OT anyway. So like they were already driving, but what I don't remember, or what you might not remember, is that this was an amazing comeback, right?
Yeah.
In the second half, the Steelers had a 9-minute, 17-play drive for a field goal to make it 20-7. With 7 minutes to go, Larry Fitzgerald catches a nasty fade in the end zone. And the Cards force a 3-and-out and get the ball back, and I think they end up having to punt themselves. With 3 minutes left, Big Ben completes like this monster pass out of the back of his own end zone, right? So the Cardinals are still down 6. And it's like 3rd and 10, and he drops back and he like fires it over the middle. And you're like, man, that's just about going to end it because like they might only need one more first down and it's over. Holding offense in the end zone, safety.
Yeah.
2 points. Steelers punt back to Arizona. Larry Fitzgerald, after like 2 plays, houses a slant. All of a sudden, the Cardinals have the lead.
Yeah.
And then they allow the Steelers to drive down the field anyway. And with seconds remaining, Santonio Holmes catch, touchdown. And the Cardinals are a particularly pitiful franchise.
Very
Having
pitiful.
that happen in the Super Bowl where you make the miracle. You get the miracle in the comeback, basically, and then give it up anyway. Man. And imagine how frustrating that game must have been when it's like you were driving before half and it's a 14-point swing dang near. And then the other team is just like playing ball control. And you finally get this big break and allow like your main man, the team legend, to go do their thing. I don't know, dude. I might have that one pretty high. There's some games that I think the way that they lost it is worse. Like the actual mechanics of how the final few plays or whatever, fair enough, that's worse. Whereas the Cardinals made this big run and then just kind of gave up a drive, and giving up a drive isn't totally crazy in itself, but I don't know.
If your dog dies of like dog fighting, you're kind of like, I expected that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If your dog dies because it got hit by a car, then you're really torn up about it, right? I feel like there are some losses that are more, my dog got hit by a car. Like, this never should have happened. Whereas that Super Bowl Cardinals Steelers was like an all-time game, like just an all-time entertaining one. And so I think maybe I don't think about it in terms of like it being just a horrifically bad loss, but it really is. Like, it really is. At the end of the day, everybody's. Why can't we tackle James Harrison? If we just tackle James Harrison, everybody got a shot at him. If we just don't let him rumble, stumble, and tumble 100 yards to the casa, we're
James
winning.
Harrison, dude. No, like,
but clearly
no one's
not
tackling him.
Clearly not. So really,
there's a clip of him. They asked him, how many people would it take? How many James Harrisons would it take to fight a silverback gorilla? He's like, 2. I need someone to film it. Because that's James Harrison, man.
I mean, yeah, it's a sneaky, brutal one, I think. You know it's a bad one. You know it happened to a team that it really stings for. But watching them back, I didn't realize how frustrating the script of that one quite was, even though I knew it involved these 2 monster plays. I really think that 9-minute drive from the Steelers, you'd be freaking out watching that after you have to wait like all of halftime. After you just like basically like half game gave the game away, dude.
Yeah.
You could have tied the game up at minimum, and instead you're down 10, dude. I don't know, man. I think it's that one.
It's very bad. It's very bad. It's very bad. I think maybe the worst loss of the 2020s is San Francisco
Which
playing
one?
The second San Francisco 2 with Brock Purdy.
That's I've spent a lot of time thinking about this.
Interesting.
What's killer about that one, not only did you walk into that game, you want your redemption. And not only did you walk into that game saying, like, the last time Garoppolo misses this throw that would have, tied the game even deep or whatever, and you had this lead or whatnot, and you blew a lead in that one, and that's the part that really makes it worse, and you have that throw. The frustrating part about this game is that they just point blank got the overtime coin flip decision wrong. They got it wrong. They screwed up badly. And not only that, they then very specifically lost because they missed out on the advantage that you get from winning the coin flip and having it second. Mm-hmm.
Yep. That sucks. And the other thing that sucks is the muff punt. The muff punt really sucks too, because the Chiefs didn't have a touchdown with 3 minutes left in the third quarter or something like that. I have it written out somewhere here.
This is a field goal heavy game. That's part of the thing that makes it so interesting, is that this was 19-19 going into overtime. This wasn't some shootout where it makes sense to try to play for the third possession of overtime, which only really makes sense if you think like 13 seconds type situation. Everybody's scoring. Nobody can stop. So we want the first sudden death guarantee.
Yeah.
But no, everybody was kicking field goals. So the 49ers punt on knowing what the Chiefs are going to do with their first drive in an attempt to get the third possession. But then in the 49ers' first possession, they get a 4th and 4 on the 9-yard line, and they decide to kick a field goal, and then the Chiefs go and score a touchdown, and they never would have made that decision otherwise. And then, of course, even then, the other big issue is that if you score the touchdown and you got the ball first and you want to guarantee yourself the ball third because you want to be able to decide the game on offense and not let the Chiefs do that, you have to go for 2. Otherwise, Kansas City can just sit there and say like, well, if we think the offenses are this unstoppable, which they weren't even, we'll just go for 2 ourselves and call game and live on 1 short yardage play. Kansas City is going to live for that, man. So the decision itself just makes no sense and killed them. But what were you going to say,
Yeah,
Theo?
they didn't. I don't think they knew the rules, right? They
didn't. And Shanahan just like blankly didn't think about it, which is just brutal.
About it, which is brutal. This is also the game Dre Greenlaw tears his Achilles walking onto the field.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That happens.
That's all-time bad injury beat. And truly like bad. and then you lose by like a penny and you're like, man, that really would have made a difference to have a player like that out.
You know what else happened? A field goal, a PAT gets blocked. A PAT gets blocked in this game. And then it's 16-13 instead of 17-13. The 49ers get a stop in the red zone, I think, on the next drive, and instead of and the Chiefs are happy to take the field goal because it ties the game instead of forcing them to lay all their cards on the table and go for it on 4th down 4. It's pretty bad.
It's bad.
It is pretty bad.
The XP, the punt, the McCaffrey fumble early. I mean, they were averaging over 8 yards a play in the first quarter to Kansas City's like 2.3, I think. But they really had nothing to show for it because McCaffrey fumbled away their great opening drive.
Right.
Oh my God, the missed opportunities, the overtime decision, the injury, the special teams, the fumbling. So the 3rd down blitzes, they let Chris Jones like free when they had a chance to put the game away on 3rd down. Jawan Jennings was open on the sideline, but Purdy doesn't have time to throw it because they just turned Jones completely loose. They had another 3rd and 4 where there was a blitz where it got spiked by Trent McDuffie. Like they had it. And the 49ers, they're a team that is always good. That has a lot of history, that has a lot of rings, but they have not won a Super Bowl, man. Like they have not won a Super Bowl in a long ass time.
And let me tell you, it does not take long for the like, well, at least we made the NFC. No, who the hell cares? You get about 1 year of that being cool. You get 1 year, and even then, that's almost so close where you're like, if we don't win at all, I'm going to be sick to my stomach at that point, right? I mean, do you know how many games you could consider of theirs? Obviously, there's the other Super Bowl. Do you know about the 2011 NFC Championship game?
Yeah.
Where they lose by an OT to the Giants because they
a fumbled punt return.
No, they muff multiple punts. They give away a touchdown where they have like a backup punt returner in, and he like grazes the ball and just like lets it bounce, and it's scooped and scored for a touchdown. And then they muff a punt in overtime and lose the game off of that as well. Yep. That's a pretty bad one. Dude.
They also have sorry receiver
game
like
that I considered the 49ers game that I considered. Which again, there are a lot, but is their Super Bowl against the Ravens, where
they lose a game off of punt muffs. Then they go to the Super Bowl and they lose a game like off of a goal line stand, essentially. And then they have sorry receiver like Crabtree, and that's a 3-year span. 49ers fans need to be saying like, hold on, that 90s dynasty is killing you guys. Because otherwise you could be saying like, or the 80s, you know, the Bills, they got competition because this is ridiculous what has happened.
No doubt.
If you're 30 even, and Bills fans are like, well, you have all these, like, dude, who cares about any of those wins, right?
Yeah.
If you're 25 and you've never seen them. So, yeah, the 49ers have been, it's
Purdy getting hurt on the second play. The Garoppolo Super Bowl was also not good. They blew a 10-point lead at both of those Super Bowls. Not good. Not good.
Not good at all. The last one on my top 5, because Minneapolis Miracle was my number 4, and the Bengals is my like honorable mention first out, is the Immaculate Reception. That to me is that is an insane loss. Because of the play that happens where
it's crazy.
You throw this pass, it bounces off, which you don't even know what it bounces off of, right? Because the camera panning is too quick.
Mm-hmm.
Picked up like off the turf, running for a touchdown. But then there's like all this debate around did it hit just the receiver? or did it also hit the defensive back? Because in order for this play to even continue, it has to hit both players. And then there's the question of, did the ball even touch the ground? Because the camera doesn't get low enough for you to see the ground. So as a Raiders fan, you're watching this and you're just like, oh my God, what? Like, you have no defense. Like, you can make hypothetical speculations, but there's zero evidence to say that this play is false or that it shouldn't have happened. It's just a gnarly play.
It's extremely gnarly. I mean, it was 7-6, 22 seconds left in the game, and there was a rule. 7-6.
Oh yeah, yes, no.
22 seconds, yeah, and the rule that you're talking about is then if it just bounced off the receiver, no one else could touch it.
Right.
It would have had to have bounced off the Raiders player. I don't think that rule still exists, right? Like, anybody can catch it off a career.
I believe you are correct. I did not fact check that before this episode.
I've never seen that called. I mean, you see some of these rules are like,
because a play like that has never happened again.
Yeah. No, that's not still the rule. But in this case, like, it needed to touch Tatum, the safety, who absolutely killed this guy. It looked like a big exclamation point. The game is over. Like, this is one of the biggest hits in NFL history is Tatum killing Fuqua, something like that.
Don't.
So, like, it's over. It's over. And then, it's scooped up off the ground. Touchdown. 13-7 final score. Did you say what round of the playoffs this was?
This was
divisional.
Divisional. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not like number 2 on my list.
Fair.
But it is just from a play standpoint.
And the Raiders also go on to win multiple Super Bowls within the next 10 years.
Sure.
Yeah.
They didn't have one at the time. I do think that softens the blow a pretty good amount.
But
I don't know if that
losing to a team that ends up being one of the greatest dynasties of all time ups the ante a little bit too. Because I think losing to those dynasties always puts
because the Steelers didn't actually go on to win the Super Bowl that year.
No, that was the Dolphins' perfect season. They lost to the Dolphins in the AFC Championship game. Or is this I think
this is the year before, actually.
So I might, this is the 1971 season, 1972 calendar year. So you're right. It's the year before.
Wow,
but I think they still ended up losing to the Dolphins, and the Dolphins go on to lose the Super Bowl. Or maybe they end up winning.
This is basically the Minnesota Miracle before it happened, almost.
Yeah,
and I do think it's back basically.
So you're valuing just like the insanity of a single play pretty crazily here.
It's just the insanity.
You're just valuing it heavy, not crazily. That's
I'm valuing I'm valuing insanity in general. Right, the Bills losing 4 Super Bowls, insanity. The fumble, insanity.
I'm thinking like long-term frustration, like a frustrating loss is the worst type of loss, in my opinion. So like that's why when we talk Saints 2018 versus 2017, no, 2018 is infinitely more frustrating and it would rank higher. And I think Saints fans would end up agreeing. Honestly, but I see your vision. Yeah. I see your vision on what some of the worst losses are. We haven't talked any NFC North ball. There's some NFC North games that I want to get into, and I got an issue an apology to Mr. Theo Ash. I remember a while ago. That's one of the worst losses ever by game script specifically. It is like genuinely.
It's the worst. It is the worst.
It is the worst of my top 5 off of like the NFC Championship game. I think, but like, whoa, they lost that one bad.
This is the worst loss I think I've ever seen in terms of just the sheer amount of bullshit that happens to the Packers. Like, I think looking back on it now, the Packers were 8-point dogs going into that game, and they have a ring. So, and Rodgers has a ring. That whole team has a ring. So like, it's not quite like Cam where everybody involved just sucks because they lost this game. Like that hasn't been the stench, and they've lost other games. The Tampa game sucks, and the 49ers game in 2021 really, really sucks with the block punt by Hufanga. So there's been a lot of, they weren't the 1 seed, they were the 2 seed. The Seahawks were the 1 seed. So they weren't supposed to win. And maybe in that way, it softens the blow a little bit. In fact, it was supposed to be a pretty lopsided Seahawks win. So the fact that they ended up losing, perhaps not the worst thing in the world, but the way that it happened,
the actual script of the game at the end,
the way that it happened is the worst. It's the worst. It's so fucking bad. And even the onside kick, like Jordy is behind him and it's about to fall into his hands. And it doesn't even matter that Jordy is there. Bostic was supposed to block for Jordy, but he's like, I got a shot at the ball. I'm going to go get it. Fine decision because it hits you in the hands. Like, might as well get this thing wrapped up early. And that's one of many, many things that
Do you want me to run
wrong.
through the final 5 minutes that's crazy of this game? Because I got it pulled up. So for the record, it's 19-7 with 5 minutes to play.
Yes.
And the Seahawks had the ball at midfield at this point, right? So they're kind of driving. Morgan Burnett picks off Russell Wilson. So the Packers are now getting the ball back, but he figures that the game is like so within hand that he just goes down. He doesn't make any attempt to return the ball whatsoever.
No, and he has space. He has space.
He has a ton of space. Like,
he's at the logo. He's on the Seahawks side of the field. He makes no attempt to get it to the Packers side of the field. No attempt.
No, he goes down at the logo almost immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he couldn't have gotten into field goal range. That might be a little bit much.
5 minutes is left.
Oh, yeah.
But he just decides I'm not going to go fumble, but he could have gotten him way closer to field goal range, if not in field goal range. Ultimately, that is what jinxed them. Yep. It is basically saying, like, I just won us the game. Nope. No, you didn't. You don't go down like that unless it's, I've seen dudes return Hail Marys for 30 yards before they decide to go down. And that's the wrong decision too, the other way. But rarely do you see a guy make the wrong decision that way. They end up going 3 and out. They completely say, like, well, we're just running the ball. We're making no attempt to try to pick up a first down or win the game with Aaron Rodgers, which isn't totally crazy. You want to burn through the Seahawks timeouts.
Sure.
And it ends up burning a minute of time and 2 timeouts. So now the Seahawks are down to nothing and there's 4 minutes to go. The Seahawks get the ball back with 4 minutes and they hit a couple of chunk plays. Like they hit a wheel and then they get another one that's close. And they don't actually end up scoring though until there's about 2:10 left on the clock. Then you have the onside attempt that's bounced off the face mask of Bostic. I remember watching that live with my dad and him sort of somberly being like, if the Packers do not win this game, this is all he's going to be remembered for is that play right there.
And arguing with me about DeAndre Swift. That's the other thing Brandon Bostic did.
Shout out.
Said I didn't know anything. Shut the fuck up, bro. You cannot say this to me.
That's like if Mike Remmers started tweeting at me. It's like, dude, no way, man. I'm sorry.
Mike Remmers says playoff expansion is the best thing that ever happened to the sport. Fuck off, Mike Remmers. No, Brandon Bostic had. I didn't say anything to him because I'm sure he's heard it enough. But it's like, bro, you shut up.
But what's interesting is that. So the Seahawks have the ball, and it's 19-14 at this point, and they actually score pretty quick. Marshawn Lynch breaks off a big run, and they score with 1:25. The 2-point conversion that they end up going for is like this bizarro Russell Wilson running around, and he fires.
Oh my God!
He fires a pass much like the one that Jordan Love threw up. I would say considerably worse and considerably more air. If you remember the Mike Jackson almost interception. Do you guys recall that play by any chance? If you do, imagine if that worked, largely because Clinton Dix, like, I feel like almost just had too much time to look at the ball. He's just running around like not getting in position whatsoever, and it's an easy catch that he doesn't end up contesting whatsoever. I mean, like, it's one of the worst ball tracking moments of all time. It's that and like the Mile High Miracle.
Yeah,
right. Like those are the ones that come to mind. Yeah.
By the way, going back to the 2023 49ers Super Bowl, remember the big post that Mahomes threw in the first quarter and their safety lost track of it in the air? They also had a moment like this.
Damn.
That game is so bad. That game was not a good loss. Anyway, yeah, haha was worse than that one. But it did happen in the 49ers game where the safety just stopped trying in the middle of a big bomb.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so the Packers get the ball back with enough time to do something, and they do. I mean, Rodgers drives them down the field and gets them in field goal range, and they hit it, and they get it to OT, where the Seahawks win the toss.
Win the coin toss.
They get to a third down. They hit a big play down the sideline, and then they hit a big play over the middle almost immediately after that. Game over. And the Packers don't see the ball again. So not only was it like a horrifying set of circumstances where the Packers kind of gave up they basically got in victory formation with 5 minutes to go, which is I would say kneeing on after an interception is victory formation. But Rodgers didn't even really get to close this one in the way that you would figure, right? Because every drive that he got a chance to try after, that interception from Morgan Burnett, he succeeded in, but he still lost anyway. It's a particularly brutal one. Losing it onside.
I feel in my soul that this is the worst loss ever. I'm very biased. I'm very, very biased. I have not watched all the losses in NFL history the same way I watched this one, but it's gotta the team was so dumb. The team was so fucking dumb, and they just pure just miscalculations. They blow a chance at the Super Bowl. Come on. It's so stupid. It's Burnett sliding down. I mean, I'm watching the replay again here. He could have gotten into field goal range. I mean, it's nothing but green grass.
He wasn't in traffic at all. It wasn't like there's guys around me and I just want to play it safe. He went down for nothing, man.
These other games that we talk about, like the 2023 49ers game, I mean, maybe Shanahan was being dumb in overtime, but the players themselves aren't just fucking around to the same extent that the Packers players were. The Panthers, when they lost, Mike Remmers sucks, and it sucks they fumbled so much, but it's not like Mike Remmers thought Vaughn isn't going to do anything and stop trying.
He didn't think Vaughn was going into coverage. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't think that. He didn't think. I mean, it's not like they had the game-winning touchdown in their hands and they dropped it. All of those things basically happened to the Packers, where they just had it. They had it and they let it slip away. The Seahawks really provided very little resistance that day, but the Packers still managed to lose to an extent I had not seen before and I have not seen since. And the Packers have other losses you can consider. Like I said, they're the 1 seed playing the 6 seed 49ers at home. They lose on a blocked punt with 4 minutes left to go in the game, or it's 3-10 with 4 minutes left to go in the game. Yeah. The block punt makes it 10-10. They lose. Tom Brady shows up in the NFC 1 year, eats their lunch at Lambeau. I should say eats their lunch because Jair had 3 picks that day. But Kevin King, blows that game. They lose to the Buccaneers at Lambeau after Rodgers' best season since 2011, this miracle rebirth. They have bad losses. That would be bad for anybody. That could be considered, top 10 worst losses, at least in the time frame I'm considering, at least since 2010. Right? They pale in comparison. They pale in comparison to the 2014 NFC Championship game. It's not even close to how bad it is.
Where is that on your list, Theo?
I don't even know where. I'm not really ranking them, but that's definitely one I've got written down.
You should make a tweet about it. I would love to see what you end up putting, a top 10 or top 5. Here's the worst losses or whatever. I think
worst
that would be
losses
very interesting.
Of 2010. This one is.
Or just since 2010, yeah, whatever you were doing. Here's the thing. The only thing that saves this one, like you said, is the Packers already had a ring with largely the same crew, with a lot of the key guys or whatever, and it was only the NFC Championship game. It wasn't actually the Super Bowl. But outside of that, in terms of, again, the coaching decision to just try to run clock was probably a little premature. They probably could have gone out there and just tried to get it done. I'll say this, man, I really do going into this project. I was thinking a lot about how teams make the decision to either be aggressive and call game on offense or kind of be passive and try to let the clock run out. Because you've got these like Lions losses, Lions versus 49ers kind of came to mind, really where they got a big lead and then they got into field goal range a couple of times and they went for it on 4th and short, which were definitely like go for it situations.
Yeah.
And they didn't pick it up. And it was like, were we too aggressive? And between that and, of course, like famously, the Falcons were too aggressive, right? Famously, they shouldn't have dropped back and just taken their field goal or whatever. But there's just as many moments where a team who has a great offense or who has an MVP level quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, I think he did win MVP in 2014.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was MVP that year, and they don't let him just like try to go pick up a first down, right? They don't let him call game. Maybe it's easy to say that in hindsight when your defense is only giving up 7 points and is coming off an interception. But ultimately, like, no matter what, unless you are kneeing the ball out straight up, you have to close a game on offense or defense. If you want to run the ball over and over and just say, let's eat up timeouts, fine. But then the defense has to close out the game, right? You have to be aggressive on defense. You can't say, we're going to sit back, different game, but like 13 seconds and we're just going to play super soft, because you'll let the other team right back into the game doing that. You will. Someone has to go out and keep making plays even late in games. But yeah, that's a bad one. I had a couple of others. Minnesota Vikings have a couple of absolutely brutal ones in the NFC Championship game. I would say the worst one is 98, but 09 is the one that I think about a lot more considering my age. In 98, I mean, they're big favorites against the Falcons. They're an awesome team. They're 15-1 in that moment. They've got Culpepper. They've got Randy Moss. They've got Chris Carter. They're a really sweet offense. They're a really cool team. And they've got the game largely wrapped up towards the end. They're in easy field goal range to take a 10-point lead with maybe 4 minutes left to play. With 2 minutes left to play, Gary Anderson misses a 38-yard field goal. He misses that. The Falcons drive down the field, score a touchdown. Vikings get the ball back with a little bit of time, kind of miss a deep shot to Randy Moss that it looked like he may have really had a chance on. Overtime, back and forth. They kind of underthrow Culpepper. Another easy Randy Moss touchdown is like 10 yards short and barely broken up, and they end up losing and blowing the game.
Yeah, that kick is Midwest 9/11. Like, where were you type moment for any boomer or any Gen Xer, like not just a Viking fan, but just across the region, Lions, Packers, Bears, like probably a football fan in general, I'd say, but especially there, like it permeates it's generational trauma. Like in 4th grade, if I mentioned Gary Anderson when I learned about it, like my classmates would definitely be like, know what happened at least, right? You know what I mean? Like everybody knows, everybody carries it with them. Like that Gary Anderson missed kick is so improbable, is so gut wrenching that like they has still not recovered, and they will not recover until they win the Super Bowl. Like Gary Anderson is the GOAT until that happens. The GOAT in a bad way.
Yeah. And you know what? I think what makes that play even crazier, that missed kick even crazier, is that it kind of became a self-fulfilling prophecy with Blair Walsh.
The Blair Walsh one was so awesome.
It was because he was also having like a great kicking season.
Yes.
And then
27 yards, not even close.
Like how? And then his career just completely fell apart after that.
Yeah, seriously.
It's like a Vikings curse.
Yeah, that one was really bad. It happened in the wild card round, which makes it not so bad, but still, like, playoff wins are hard to come by, especially for Minnesota. Like, to be there at all is special, and to have a chance to knock off the Seahawks, right, at 2014 or 2015, like, this was Legion of Boom. Like, this is an upset. Coldest game ever, thugged it out, 27-yard chip shot with your great kicker. Not even close. Not even close. But the Favre one is worse than Blair Walsh. I think the Favre one is definitely.
Well, this is another one where I remembered the play, but I didn't remember the circumstances that led up to it that was actually way worse. Minute 06 to play, ball at the 33.
Mm-hmm.
Vikings have the ball at the Saints 33, I should say. Tie game 28-28. They have 2 timeouts, and I don't think the Saints have any timeouts, right? So the Vikings are very much in control, and they've got clock control. 33 puts them at a 50-yard field goal. Their kicker's long is a 52. They've hit 2 50-yarders that year.
Shout out Ryan Longwell.
Ooh, good pull.
Yeah.
And their career long is a 55. So you're within range and you feel decent. And they made a Pro Bowl that year and they were having a very good season. So shout out Ryan Longwell. So they end up running to try to burn clock, right? They want to get into a position where they're like, we're just going to accept kind of a long field goal for game here. Maybe a little conservative, but frankly,
sure.
Seems like being conservative ended up being the right call ultimately. So they run for nothing and they run again, super safe. They get nothing again. So now it's 3rd down. They burn a timeout. There's like 17 seconds left. So they're clearly just paying to try to get into a little bit of field goal range. But in the huddle, they end up having 12 men, penalty, 5 yards. Now it's 3rd and 15 instead of 3rd and 10. And now you feel like we're actually out of field goal range here a little bit. We're actually on the very, very cusp of our kicker's long, and maybe we need to throw the ball. That is what puts them in the position where Favre feels like he needs to go and make a play to actually continue to drive the ball. And there's a chance that he could have just picked it up with his legs if you don't remember. It seems like he could have taken a little chunk. And remember, this is a situation where, it's 3rd and 15. You don't even need to pick it up. 10 yards, you're doing somersaults.
Well,
right?
you can take a knee and kick a 56-yard field goal.
Exactly. You could also try for your kicker's career long. It wouldn't be the end of the world from 56. That would be better than throwing it across your body and throwing an interception. And then I don't believe they won another playoff game until 2017.
And it was tied, right? It was tied.
Yes,
game.
They ended up losing it.
It's not like they needed. It's not like they needed the.
Exactly. That's what makes it so bad. It's one of the worst plays ever. They were in real position to win it, and they just kind of fell apart at the end on an incredibly dumb penalty and an even dumber play.
And I love, obviously, Paul Allen's call is classic. Why would you even ponder passing? This ain't Detroit. This is the Super Bowl, right? There's that. But I also really like Pete Bursich's call. And it's such a good point that Favre had green grass in front of him to run. He could have run, and he could have run, Paul. He should have. And he should have. Like, there is nobody in front of him. Nothing but green grass. He could have picked up an easy 7 or 6 yards and slid and tried a long field goal. But no, just complete force, complete unacceptable throw. And Favre, the Packers have a loss in 2007 that is very bad because of Mr. Favre and his picks. He seems to be at the epicenter of some bad interceptions.
Do you have Favre and Rodgers on like the great scale of hamburgers, and Jordan Love falls kind of right in between.
That one's really bad. The last one I've got to talk about in detail is the only one that isn't a conference championship game or Super Bowl that I think really qualifies as an all-time bad one. This is 1 seed Broncos losing to the Baltimore Ravens in 2012. This is the Mile High Miracle. And the Mile High Miracle is obvious. They do the same thing as the Packers did, where it's 3rd and 7, 2-minute warning. What do we do? The Ravens only have 1 timeout left, and they decide to run the football and make them take the timeout. All right. You got Peyton Manning, brother. You could have ended the game.
But here's the thing. I think you end up looking back in the way that it played out before the Mile High Miracle. It's like they were kind of right, because the position that they were putting the Ravens in, maybe I guess I ended up being wrong and sure, give it to Peyton.
In hindsight, maybe they should have done something different.
Well, sure. But like the Ravens ended up being in this situation where they're like, we have to throw it deep because we have no timeouts in like 1 minute, and
it's 42 seconds. Clock. Yeah, it's 42 seconds running clock. It's 3rd down and 3. It's 70 yards to go to get a touchdown. And it's a 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
It's a 70-yard touchdown. It's like this is a situation where it's like it oftentimes gets thrown out there too quickly. When I was growing up, the Panthers threw it out too quickly. Prevent defense. Every game they were up in, they wanted to go into prevent defense as quickly as possible. And they wanted it to be a one-score game as much as they possibly could get it to be. But this was a situation where it's like, no, if you can keep them in bounds at all, like there's just kind of out of options at a point. And it's the worst ball tracking play that I can remember. And they end up losing it in OT.
And the OT is really what set this over the top. Because that sent it to overtime. They lose in double overtime. Okay, so what happened through that first overtime period? Well, there was a bullshit DPI call on the Broncos. There was a pick that Flacco threw that the corner didn't get both feet in bounds for. There's another dropped interception. So those are 3 like frustrating secondary plays. There's punts, there's back and forth, like next score wins, no one can do it. 59 seconds left to go in overtime. It's 2nd down and 6. They're about at midfield. Peyton Manning throws the Favre pick. He throws across his body, no one really in front of him, just forcing something on 2nd down, and it's jumped and it's picked off. He could have thrown it away. He could have tucked and dove and picked up nothing. It would have been 3rd. He could have done anything but that. They still had such a great chance to win this after the miracle play, and literally they threw it away. They plus just the horrific secondary day, just generally dropped interceptions, DPI. I mean, I think at one point in the 4th quarter, it was like 68 plays to 44. I read, and that lets you know how explosive those 44 plays were for the Baltimore Ravens, because the Broncos also had 2 return touchdowns on special teams on this day. 2 return touchdowns and dominating the plays like that. It should be over. But every single Torrey Smith was catching bombs every single play. I mean, yeah, it was really, 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 really rough. It was a really rough L. And yes, the Broncos got a ring. Yes, the Broncos were good before that and good after that and all that. But still, to be a 1 seed, to have a real chance at a ring that year and to lose it on not only the miracle, but the overtime as well, it doesn't get much worse than that.
And I think having something like that happen at home,
yes,
it really does set it apart too.
No doubt. Absolutely no doubt. That's a big part of why I looked at 1 seeds only, because again, for the Packers, at least it wasn't at Lambeau.
Right.
At least they were the 2 seed and in CenturyLink, whatever it was.
That's the other thing about the Saints thing too. At least the Minneapolis Miracle was in Minneapolis, right? You know,
Yep.
The bad call was at home, man.
No,
getting a bad call at home is brutal, dude.
All right. So that's our list, I guess, kind of a general top 5 from a couple and hodgepodge of another. But it was very fun over the last few days to reminisce on some of the worst loss and go rewatch a lot of these. And hopefully our retellings of them were interesting to listen to. Here's a question I have for you guys.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Can you remember a time, or is there any moment that sticks out where a horrifying, back-breaking, mind-numbing play like the Mile High Miracle happens, but then the other team they're fine in overtime, like they get it back together and they're okay? This is also a question for the comments. I would love to know what your examples of that would be off the top of your head.
Well, the Janice Hail Mary. The Janice Hail Mary is that for me.
That's a
we
really
lost
good
that
one.
Game. The dual Hail Mary.
That's a really good one. That's exactly the type of thing I'm talking about.
Yeah. That one's not an all-time bad loss, even though like in that moment it sucked, because that was such a bad Packer season. Like, we were a wild card team. The Cardinals were really, really good. Carson Palmer was second in MVP voting that year behind Cam. Like, I went in with no expectations. And it looked like we were going to lose. And then that happens. And all of a sudden, like, I was chilling, like, expecting the loss, like chilling. And then that happens, and it's like, oh my God, like what? This was not how it was supposed to go. And then quickly, like, again, we lose the coin toss, and the first thing that happens is Larry Fitzgerald like takes those fuck ass slants 70 yards, and then they do a little like little touch pass in the red zone, and it immediately ends. Rodgers never sees it again.
Did that be?
He did not have good coin.
How much animosity did you gain for Larry Fitzgerald after that?
Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, the Cardinals kill the Packers. Like, we lost a game like 48-45 or something like that the year before we won the Super Bowl to the Cardinals. I don't remember it super well, but it was lost on like a goofy fumble that hit Rodgers' foot and bounced backwards. And they like housed, I think. There's that. There's obviously the dual Hail Mary game. And then even when the Cardinals were horrible and we were great, we would just lose to the Cardinals. Like McCarthy got fired because we lost to the Cardinals. It was the Cardinals own us. The Cardinals just own the Green Bay Packers, like sadly, but it's okay. So I guess I have animosity for all of those things, but I really didn't expect us to win that. And we also got a new puppy that day, Pepper, the one who's now washed. This was like the day we got Pepper. So that I was like in a good mood. There was a puppy around. Like I wasn't even fucking paying attention. And then all of a sudden dual Hail Marys. But I'm trying to think of another, if there's any other examples.
A real quick, 2 other games I have to bring up. I'm sorry.
Sure.
1 yard
please.
short. 1 yard short, of course. 16-point comeback. Isaac Bruce, 73-yard bomb touchdown.
Yep.
They get a yard, they end up driving down the field and hitting like some crazy plays, and then they end up a yard short of tying the Super Bowl back up. Obviously, that one is pretty high up there. You could also say the next year, like pretty brutal loss for the Rams. And when I went and looked at other people's lists, because I was just curious, that Rams loss to the Patriots ended like super crazy high. I know the Pats were dogs, but really? That's like among the worst losses ever? I don't know.
I considered it because the Patriots were dogs. We didn't
like
know
13-point dogs too. They were big dogs.
Oh, were they that big of dogs in that one?
They were big dogs. That's why it ranked so high.
All right. Fair enough. Still, they got one the year before with the exact same fellas. Sorry, it's just not going to be number 1 because of that.
I feel you. Or what's your other one?
The other one, 2006 Chargers Patriots divisional. Go watch this one. The Chargers have an 8-point lead with 8 minutes to go. On the next drive, the Pats get into a 4th and 5 on the Chargers 45, right? Chargers pick the ball off and fumble it on that play.
Oh, no.
Patriots score, get the 2, get the ball back, score a field goal. And then the Chargers drive down the field with 3 minutes to go, get into field goal range, miss the field goal, lose it.
Yeah.
And they were like awesome that year. This was like Tomlinson MVP. They had Antonio Gates, Vincent Jackson. They had 5 first-team All-Pros, 10 Pro Bowlers. I think they were the 1 seed.
Yeah, there needs to be a Phillip Rivers. There needs to be a Phillip Rivers moment.
That's another divisional game where it's like picking the ball off and then fumbling it is.
There's another Chargers game you could throw in here.
Which one?
Oh, the
Jaguars.
Chargers Jaguars. Yeah.
You could throw that one in. Another game that I'll mention. Another game that I'll.
You don't want to talk. Theo doesn't want to talk about that one, man.
Another game that I'll.
Austin Eckler negative 3 yards in the second half, salting a lead away. Why would I have any issue talking about? Why would I have any issue talking about Austin Eckler's legacy?
The 2005 season. Cincinnati Bengals are going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the wild card round of the playoffs. First play, Carson Palmer tears his ACL. And they lose because they have to throw John Kitna in, and they lose 31-17. And this is like Carson Palmer's, like one of his best seasons. He has 32 touchdowns, which leads the league, 3,800 yards, 67.8% completion percentage, which leads the league. And then he tears his ACL. Was it
literally the first offensive play and they got the ball first?
It's either the first or the second.
Okay. If it's first play, that is truly classic, like disaster.
Let me double check, but I know it's really early on in the play.
While you do, my must say honorable mention, and I don't even have a list. Or go ahead.
The Steelers got the ball first.
But was it still the Bengals? That's still pretty dang.
It was the Bengals' first drive and Carson Palmer's first drop back. He completes, because they ran the ball on first down. On second down, they complete a pass to Chris Henry for 66 yards, and then John Kitna comes in.
Tough.
So on the 66-yarder, he tore his ACL?
I guess so.
Wow, that's sad.
Damn.
It's also metal as fuck that he threw a 66-yard
kind of
pass.
Is.
But
my must say last game here, it's not even an honorable mention really, because I don't have a list. It's just on my list. But the 2017 AFC Championship game with the Jaguars and the Patriots.
Yes.
I think that one has a couple of key components that we've talked about. The first one being the Jaguars suck and have never won shit.
It's the poor old Jaguars against the New England Patriots.
Against the New England Patriots. That's one thing. And you can also beef with the refs because I don't think Miles Jack was down. Now,
no, he was not.
It's not as bad, I think, as the DPI, because I see why it was called the way it was. They're tackling each other, and it rips out of his hands, and like Jack lands with the ball in his hands and gets up and keeps running. But at full speed, I do not blame the refs for saying like blowing the play dead. I do not blame them.
You would just figure in a play like that he would have had to have been touched while he was on the ground with the ball. But by chance, no, he was not. It's also not as bad because while it would have put the Jaguars up, we'll say safely 17 points. It didn't really take that long for them. Yeah, they still get the ball back like several times. The Patriots actually, I don't think it takes until their last drive or anything for them to come all the way back, does it? Like the Patriots sort of put their foot on the gas and pull away. So it's very good, but up 17 with 13 minutes to go is probably not like totally, completely done out of hand, as we've talked about earlier.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bad one, but it's not the worst that we've mentioned by far.
But it's bad. But it's also bad because it's just a blown lead against the Patriots, and you're the Jaguars trying to go to the Super Bowl.
Shout out the crowd pop on the fourth down, Stephon Gilmore PBU. That's one of the great football crowd pops. It's fourth down. Stephon Gilmore is trailing in man. The ball's a little bit behind the intended receiver for this like game-saving play, but it's not a bad throw. Gilmore elevates one hand like sideways in the air, spikes that emphatically to the ground, and Gillette just goes nuts. Like that's a really cool play. That's a really cool play. But the poor old Jaguars against the evil Empire could not get it done with a very unfortunate call. Goliath. A very unfortunate call because Miles Jack, it was bouncing around. And then when he actually recovered it, he wasn't touchdown. And it was a great play by him to stay in bounds. He knew it. He knew that he wasn't down. He grabbed it, immediately started running back the other way. Like good awareness of the situation. But sadly, the ref didn't know it as well as he did.
Yeah. And even if he was out, like you're taught like to act as if things are going well.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
He really knew he wasn't down. That's the thing. Like he was when they called it dead, like
furious.
He's jumping around. He was furious.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what had happened.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. It's a shame they didn't let that like continue, but he never touched the end
defense
zone.
too. That's
what's really
does suck. That was a great defense. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could go on endlessly. Like there's a bunch, the 35-3 comeback that Frank Reich had. The Music City Miracle, which I'm now getting a kick out of because like, damn, they really wanted it to be alliteration and miracle. So they got it to Music City, and everybody gives that a pass, but start calling somebody the Emerald City route artist, and all of a sudden it just doesn't flow, bro.
All of a sudden you're a cornball, and just anybody they let in at the Super Bowl, which like I always get a kick out of. Like the year before, we're literally talking about you don't want to be that guy that everyone's calling.
Right.
But anyway,
but
everybody loved it.
Well worth it.
Yes, it has been worth it. But I think that does it for this episode of Stay Hot. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Matt's right. It was a fun little experiment, a little bit of torture to have to relive some of our worst losses for each of our own fan base's history, but still fun nonetheless. As always, from your favorite fellas here at Stay Hot, we will catch you on the flippity flop.